All right. So, what I'm going to talk about today is more of a science thing than a math thing, but it's in our book. And I teach this because it's something that next year a lot of you will be taking chemistry. Even some ninth graders, when you register, if you can get it into your schedule, you can take chemistry as a sophomore. It can be hard to get, especially if you're taking Spanish, it can be hard to fit in your schedule, but some do. Is there anyone in here that's in chemistry right now? So this will be easy for you, because you probably know all of this already.
Yeah, we learned about this week. So.
What's that?
We learned this week.
This week, yeah. And I might teach it a touch different, but probably still get you. And I think in science you go much more in depth than what I'm showing you today. So what there is in science, there is something called significant digits with measurements. And in science, we call it more significant figures, and you'll hear your science teachers, especially chemistry, and physics, they'll talk about sig figs, okay? So significant digits are in a measurement. What digits in that measurement are precise? Like, how confident are we that every one of those digits is something that is precise for that measurement, okay? And so what we're gonna do is talk about rules for that. The very first rule, and it's the easiest rule, is that every single number in a measurement that is not zero is significant, okay? So you don't even have to debate. So if I looked at 29.7, none of them are zero, so this would have 3 sig figs, or significant digits, however way you want to say that. Any numbers that are not zero are significant. So the rest of the rules here deal with zeros, okay? So what we have to decide is, are these zeros significant or are they not? So the first rule with zeros is, if you ever have any amount of zeros in between two numbers that are not zero, they are significant. So here I have 2 zeros, they're between a 2 and a 7. So that means we count all of them. We'd count 1, 2, 3, 4. If I had 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, no matter how many zeros I had between those two numbers, I count those zeros. They're significant. So this would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sig figs, okay? So any amount of zeros that you have between two non-zero numbers are significant. Even if I gave you this, okay? These zeros are between two numbers that are not zero, so we count them, okay? So this would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right? Now, the next one talks about, there are times we have numbers that are like rounded, and you know, like this problem might have said, round to the nearest 10,000, a number. This might be population or something like that, okay? When you have zeros in a number that are there just for place value, they're there just to make that number big, these zeros are not significant then, okay? Those zeros are there just to hold those place values to make that number large. So we don't count those. This has 2 sig figs, okay? So anytime, even if it was like this, you guys, that 0 would not count because it is there just for a place value. This would only have 2 sig figs. Do we get that? Okay. Now, just like these zeros were there for placeholders to make that number really large, we also have zeros that we use as placeholders to make numbers really small. So if you have any decimal, okay, that's only a decimal, it doesn't have a number in front of it, it's just a decimal. If you have zeros in that decimal that are there just to make your number really small, we do not count those as significant. So this would only be 2. So that those beginning zeros are there just to make our number really small, okay? So if I even gave you this, how many do you think that would be? Just 1, right? Okay. That 0 is there just to make it small. But this is where two rules kind of go against each other. If I gave you this, okay, we have one rule, and we talked about it above, that if you have zeros between two numbers that are not 0, you count those zeros. And that trumps the rule here that if you have zeros there just to make a number small, we don't count them, but we do if there's a number in front of that decimal point. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so if this was just 0.0001, it would have 1. But once I put a number somewhere in front of that decimal point, then I have to count the zeros. Everybody okay with that? Okay, then the last one is if you had something like there is something with decimals that's called trailing zeros. These two zeros right there are trailing zeros, and what that means is that number is precise to 2 more places. If I measured something and told you this, that is not as precise as if I measured something and gave it to 2 additional places, even if they're zeros. That just means that number is more precise than this one, so I have to count those. I do not count these because they're there to hold place value and make that number small. So do you guys agree this one would have 4 and this one would only have 2? Does that make sense? Okay, don't count these because they're placeholders. Count these at the end of non-zero numbers on a decimal. They're called trailing zeros. What if what do you think? Do you think we count these? Yeah, right? Because they're in between 2 numbers that are not 0. Do we count these? Because they're trailing zeros. So in this case, we count everything. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So now let's go to this page and we're gonna see how you guys do. Okay? What do you guys think about A? How many significant digits? 3. Do you guys all understand we wouldn't count those because they're there to make the number larger. They're placeholders. So this is 3. Would we count those 3? Yes, right? Because they're between 2 non-zeros. So this is 5. Okay. C. Do we count these? Yep. Do we count these? Yes, right? So we count everything. These are between 2 non-zeros. These are trailing zeros. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Do I count these in D? Yeah. So total there'd be what, 6? Okay, sorry, I have my phone on because I'm expecting a call from the doctor, so sorry about that. Okay, in this one, would we count those first 3? No. Would we count this one? Yes. So it has 3. In this one, would we count those? Yes. So we have 5. And then here, would I count those? Yes, because they're in between 2 non-zeros. Would I count that? Yes. So it's 5. Would I count those 3? No. Would I count those 2? Yes. So this one's 4. Okay. So as I said, short lesson, on your assignment today, last hour kind of freaked out when I showed this because what I just went over, there's 21 questions on it, but they're fast, okay? Then this worksheet is in Schoology, so you'll have to go to week 4, go down to Friday, and the section 110 worksheet will be linked there. And then these are review problems that could be on the quiz. So these are gonna be fast. Let's see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 review questions. Those will take a little bit longer, but the first 21 should go quick. You can put it all on one sheet, okay? You could just title it section 110 worksheet. Was it easy?